If you committed violence on that day, obviously you shouldn't be pardoned.
JD Vance has finally crawled out of whatever hole he's been hiding in since the election. Having basically given over his job to Elon Musk, he hasn't exactly been making headlines recently. But he sat down with Fox this Sunday, and when he was lobbed an easy question about what Trump's plans are regarding the pardons for Jan 6 rioters, he absolutely ate it.
January 6 pardons, President Trump says there's a process. Where is the line drawn on who will and wouldn't be considered for a pardon?
I think it's very simple. Look, if you protested peacefully on January the 6th and you've had Merrick Garland's Department of Justice treat you like a gang member, you should be pardoned. If you committed violence on that day, obviously you shouldn't be pardoned. And there's a little bit of a gray area there, but we're very much committed to seeing the equal administration of law. And there are a lot of people, we think, in the wake of January the 6th who were prosecuted unfairly. We need to rectify that.
Oof, not quite towing the party line there, JD. Apparently, the party of law and order was not happy with him saying that obviously violent offenders wouldn't get pardons. In their minds, none of them were violent. The whole thing was a scam. It was just a peaceful protest. Because this is what it looks like when MAGA peacefully protests.
Bottles and rocks and hand-thrown chemical-grade fireworks. This is now effectively a riot.
1349 hours declaring it a riot.
Just to give you guys a little reminder of what we're talking about here. MAGA likes to talk about Jan 6 as if they were all holding hands and singing Kumbaya, and the police just came and brutalized them. I think they might be mistaking that with Trump's first term in office. Either way, JD Vance is sounding a little bit different than Trump on this issue, and it seems like MAGA might be coming for his head the same as they were Mike Pence. Let's take a look at what Trump just said about the Jan 6 pardons.
First, you said on your first day of office you're going to pardon January 6 defendants. Are you planning to pardon those who were charged with violent offenses?
Well, we're looking at it, and we have other people in there. And as you see, I guess 24 or 28 people came now from the FBI. That came out very quietly. Nobody reported it, but they had people in some form related to the FBI. They had 4 or 5 people that were strongly related to the FBI. We have to find out about that. We have to find out about Hezbollah. We have to find out about who exactly was in that whole thing, because people that did some bad things were not prosecuted. You know, I see it all the time, and you see it too. People that were doing some bad things weren't prosecuted, and people that didn't even walk into the building are in jail right now. So we'll be looking at the whole thing, but I'll be making major pardons, yes, please.
Not only did he answer the question with a conspiracy theory about Hezbollah, an Islamic paramilitary party in freaking Lebanon, as if that has anything to do with Jan 6th, but then he makes it seem like the people who are in prison didn't actually do anything, and all the real bad guys just got away with it. He did this exact same thing when he was president-elect the first time. Claimed that everything's in a state of disrepair and that he's going to magically fix it on, quote, day one. I can bet you anything that JD Vance doing this little interview is just the start of the disappointments for MAGA. And boy, are they disappointed. Here's JD Vance on Twitter trying to defend himself to the Hodge twins, who are conservative influencers. First of all, I donated to the Jan 6 Political Prisoner Fund and got roasted for it during my Senate race. I've been defending these guys for years. Second, there were federal informants in the crowd. Do they get a pardon? I don't think so. The president saying he'll look at each case, and me saying the same, is not some walk back. I assure you, we care about people unjustly locked up. Yes, that includes people provoked, and it includes people who got a garbage trial. I love the promise that Trump is going to look at each of these cases. He wasn't even bothered to look at the security briefings during his first term. He's no fucking chance he's going to look at these guys' cases. Also, we're back to the claims about the deep state and federal informants being in the crowd. I'm really curious what they're going to do about the deep state here in about a week when they're sworn in. They'll randomly declare victory over the swamp monsters, and in actuality, nothing will really change. But just when JD Vance thought he was in the clear, it looks like the maggots weren't done rubbing salt in his wounds. Check out the response to this tweet. You are seriously telling me FBI informants are serving prison time? Sure. Pardon them all. Must be done. My view is all the Jan 6 prosecutions by the corrupt Biden Justice Department were tainted by politics and other abuses. Please understand that all defendants were denied due process and should therefore be pardoned. We didn't even have a jury of our peers in Washington, D.C. The only people who should be imprisoned are Capitol Police officers who massacred protesters. What massacre? One woman was shot after she breached a security area, and I'm pretty sure another man died from a heart attack. These guys are acting like it was the Boston Massacre and they're revolutionaries. This man, Philip Anderson, was actually there in Jan 6, and he said, "Until all of the Jan 6 defendants are saved, I have to take this off my car." JD Vance has crushed the hopes and morale of hundreds of J6ers. I can only hope that's true. And as much as JD Vance says he's not walking back anything, I think he is. I think this is an attempt to distance the administration from the more violent people they've been coercing to join the MAGA revolution. You have to remember that a lot of those Jan 6ers were part of extremist groups like the Proud Boys. Here's a clip from MSNBC pointing that out too.
What did you hear in that answer?
Well, it's interesting. I heard a lot of walking back from, the sort of Trump rallies where he embraced explicitly sort of everybody who participated in this violent insurrection. That seemed to be walking back the people who would be the Proud Boys, the Oath Keepers, who engaged in or convicted of violent acts. But I think people should remember we all saw with our eyes, and we're going to see again if there are pardons of people who participated in the violent attack on the Capitol. To sit there, nobody was prosecuted just for showing up and peacefully protesting. There's a First Amendment right. That was not part of why people were convicted. It had nothing to do with free speech. It had nothing to do with their political views. People were prosecuted for actions. And so I'm not just focusing on what JD Vance said. And, he is a Yale-educated lawyer, so he knows this. The people who were prosecuted, that was not sort of a nonviolent participation in a peaceful protest. It was actually an attack on the Capitol at the very least.
Absolutely, at the very least. I mean, you saw the clips earlier. It wasn't exactly a peaceful protest. And any pardons for any of the people who were actually convicted at this point is a conviction for a violent offender. So you see why when JD Vance says we're not giving pardons to violent offenders, all the maggots start crawling around like it's freaking trash day. I know Trump is having a great time right now while he's president-elect and he's not responsible for any of the bad things. And I don't think it's going to take long before the cracks start to show. Hang in there, folks. Only a couple weeks before Trump has nowhere to hide. I'm Tony Hinderman with Really American. I'll catch you next time.